Benjamin can have love for the truckie. Beautiful minds, but we love getting ugly. Risk takers with a clover, man, we love getting lucky. You run, we chase fire, I love when it ducks me. Tones go off, house watch, read the address out. 1075, get up off the magic couch. 500 gallons prepared for the baddest drought. Who else you want on the way when disaster's out? Can't even get a little bit rattled when you enter with exit apparel. Mayday, member down, they'll drag you. You won't get this from every Tom, Dick, and Harold, but here's a view from the top floor with Mickey Farrell.
Welcome back to another episode of A View from the Top Floor. Today I want to give you a survival tip for operating in commercial buildings, or as we call them, taxpayers. However, the term taxpayer has been broad-stroked throughout the fire service for many years with the misinterpretation of what that terminology truly means. The term taxpayer came out of New York City as New York City was developing and growing. Developers came in and they bought up parcels of land to build 1 to 2 story commercial buildings that would generate revenue just to pay the owner's taxes, waiting for that neighborhood to get more populated. Then they could tear down that commercial building and then build a 6-story multiple dwelling where they can create even more revenue as the population would move into that area of the city. So that's where the actual terminology taxpayer comes from. You usually find them on the corner lots, the ones that are still standing, occupied by small stores such as laundromats, restaurants, bodegas, any mom and pop type store. Now, the importance of understanding the true terminology of this on the fireground, when you hear a working fire transmitted in a taxpayer, this brings an entirely set of different problems than with any other fire we go to. Large open spans on the interior, like a 99-cent store, heavy fire load, stock and shelving, and obviously the collapse potential with these old buildings that are built with shoddy construction many years ago that are still standing. But what I really want to focus in on today is multiple occupancies or multiple stores within one structure. These developers got very smart over the years, realizing that we have one store. If we partitioned that store into multiple stores, for instance, you have a barbershop, you have a bodega, you have a Verizon store, but they broke it up into multiple stores. Now, I think we can all agree when we're pushing deep into a commercial building, this is one of the most dangerous tasks we have on the fireground. Any fire we go to, we know that our position in a relative state to where that fire is compared to our second means of egress is critical. Now, in a commercial building, that's why it is important that we get to the rear very quickly and give us a report of our second means of egress. Many times operating in an older taxpayer, when they subdivided that building up into certain partitions, certain stores within that building, you've blocked off your second means of egress. So probably only one of those stores has a second means of egress. So, for instance, the barbershop has the second means of egress, but the fire is in the Verizon store. That second means of egress is now blocked because at one time that was one building that partitioned up, blocking off that rear entry. This is why it's critical we get to the rear of that fire building and we identify if we have a second means of egress or not. If we do, get it on the radio. If we don't, get it on the radio. Either way, we have to let the companies operating on the inside know if it's a one-way in or one-way out type fire, or if they can get to that point of egress in the rear if need be. Now, once we hear that report that there may not be a second means of egress, especially for a truck firefighter, it is very, very important that we now identify where the location of that line is. I can't stress line orientation enough. Knowing the deeper you crawl into that store, the smaller that front door is going to get. Having an understanding where that line is may be your only way out if you get disoriented. Remember, bumps to the pumps, something we don't think about too often, but it's very basic. But when the shit's on, that may be your only lifeline to get out of the building. Now, understanding that line orientation or that line position, we can now gravitate a little bit deeper into the store in relative state to where that line is operating, where that line is moving. Now, something that I've used in the past, and I find that it works very well, is that when we enter the store, we have the line orientation. We're trying to get to the rear of that store because, again, most fires and taxpayers or commercial buildings start in the rear. We've talked about that in the past. That said, getting to the rear. We have that main avenue a lot of times with tile and hardwood floor getting to the rear. However, if we're having a hard time making that push or finding access to the rear, if you come in, go left or right, to that 2-side or that 4-side wall in the fire store itself, and then crawl straight back, it's a direct avenue or a direct line to the rear of the store. Just understand if there's a skill or tactic that you do want to implement, we are most times operating very remote from that line. So again, line orientation is incredibly important. If something was to go wrong, and we're on those 2 or 4 corner outside walls trying to make a push to the rear of the fire store, we're going low on air, we're starting to get disoriented. Some of you probably have heard this, some of you probably haven't, but a tip is in the taxpayer or store, that front entrance is either tile or hardwood floors. Area to the left or right is usually carpeted with racks and displays or whatnot. If you're operating and you're disoriented and you're lost and you're operating with carpet below you, you're not anywhere near an exit. So you have to find that main avenue, that tile or that hardwood area. Most times where the engine company is advancing, is pushing down that area, straight down the center. If you find that area, you still can't find either front or rear, get on your belly, either look out the window at night. Maybe you can see the lights in the street. If you have thermal imaging camera, you can see if you see any heat to the rear, or if you can see the front door with that camera, that differentiation in temperature from the actual fire building to the exterior. And when you do find that hardwood or that tile, you have a 50-50 shot of getting out alive. A tip for you that when you are trying to find that, never take your gloves off to find carpet, the tile, carpet, the hardwood. Keep your gloves on at all times every fire you go to. Don't ever take your gloves off in that situation. What you can do is peel back the glove on your sleeve and run the bottom of your wrist from carpet, the hardwood, carpet, the tile. You find that area, and then you find your point of egress. And I would like to hope in moments like this, instinct often takes over, and most time the instinct leads to the right choice. So trust your gut. If you think that a certain way is the right way, it probably is. And if you think something is wrong, it's probably wrong as well. A couple survival tips for you. Just to recap, is when we're operating in a commercial building, a taxpayer, 1 to 2 story building, we have to confirm if we have a second means of egress in the rear, whether that's from the OV getting to the rear, the chauffeur getting to the rear, the roofman getting up and getting eyes on the rear. We have to confirm a second means or confirm there is not a second means and get that over the radio. That will ultimately set the tempo of the inside team. And for the officers operating on the inside, will allow him to rein his guys in a little bit more to make sure we are confirming that line orientation, and we're reconfirming that as the fire progresses. And again, if you're operating in a carpeted area in a commercial building, it's probably not the way out. I wouldn't say always, but I would say 80 to 90% of the times you're not in the right spot. You have to find hardwood or tile, and you'll find a 50-50 shot of getting out. And most of all, when we're going to these fires, anytime when I hear over the radio that we're going to a taxpayer fire or a report of a fire in a commercial building, there should be a little pit in your stomach, knowing that this isn't going to be an easy fire. We're not good at these fires. Statistics proven that we lose firefighters every year in commercial building fires. I think the problem lies that many times we're fighting fires at one speed. We have to understand that the fireground is not a one-speed game. There's different tempos for different fires. We have to dial it back of commercial building fires. We have to understand our points of egress. We have to understand if the fire's above us in the cockloft. There's all these details that get overlooked many times when we're fighting fires in commercial buildings. Understanding positioning, understanding tempo, and understanding where you fit in is very, very critical when fighting commercial building fires. We have to understand that a tempo could be at one pace, at one cadence, at one time, but especially commercial building fires, that tempo of a fire can change like a light switch. Things could go drastically wrong very quickly. And we have to understand position plus its purpose equals intention, and intention is how you view the objective in real time. That's all I got for you. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you soon.